Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing a project that features a shaker mechanism and a slider mechanism. I know, it's a lot. It's a Schleider card, shaker and slider all together. And I am going to be using the Stamp Market Special Delivery Stamp Set along with a couple other products as well. And I'm starting out with this adorable delivery truck. I've placed it in my Mini Misty. And I'm inking it up with the Gina Obsidian Amalgam ink. Now, this stamped beautifully. This was a brand new stamp. I had not used it before, so it was not seasoned in any way. And I was able to get away with just one stamping of this ink. It was a nice, rich, dark black line, and I absolutely love it. And it's a great ink because it is Copic friendly. Now I'm going to do some quick coloring on this delivery truck. I'm not going to show you all of the coloring because there's so many other things to show that you're going to want to see other than me coloring this truck. But I will have the Copic marker colors that I use listed and linked over at my blog, so be sure to check there if you're looking for the particular colors that I used. So I'm just using my regular technique, starting out by adding my shading and then blending over with my lightest color. I did only use 2 colors on that blue area of the truck. And then I'm going to use the coordinating die. I'm going to line it up and hold it in place with some Thermoweb purple tape, and I'm going to run it through my Gemini Junior to cut it out. Now, because I want to make a shaker mechanism out of this truck, I went ahead and die cut another one of these trucks out of just some plain white cardstock, and that will be my backer for my shaker window here. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest, I searched high and low for a die that would fit inside this little delivery truck back end and keep me from having to cut this out with my trimmer, but I did not find one in my stash. So I am just using my Fiskars reinforced trimmer to cut the center part of this delivery truck back end out. And this is actually really easy to do. I'm lining up the edge, the stamped line edge with the 1/4 inch mark every time I rotate it. And I am using a little bit of Thermoweb purple tape to help me keep that die cut in place as I am doing my cut marks here. And I'm starting about 1/4 inch in from the stamped line. I can see where my blade's going to drop because it has that little pointer on it. And then I'm going to about 1/4 inch short of the other stamped line. So I'm trying to stay about 1/4 inch away from the edge so that I have enough room to add my foam adhesive on the back as well. I'm going to do this to all 4 sides, and I'm just connecting those cut lines each time. And then I was able to pop that center part out, and that can be my shaker window. Now, to add my acetate onto the back of this area, I'm just using a little score tape here. This is the 1/4 inch score tape, and I'm just going around the edge of it here. And once I have all 4 sides done of the back end of this truck, I'm going to remove the backer and I'm going to add a piece of acetate so that all of my shaker goods will be held in by this little acetate piece. Now, you could use a liquid glue for this, but let's be real, I am a messy person, and anytime I can stay away from liquid, it's probably a good idea. So I am going to take some foam adhesive now, and I'm just doubling it over on itself so that I can have a double layer here. I like to do this and keep some kind of on hand. And then I'm going to trim this down into some thin strips to place around the border of that open area. This is going to add some dimension so that my shaker bits can kind of shake around inside of there. And I'm going to make sure that as I lay these strips of foam adhesive down around my window, that all of the edges are touching each other. It's especially important on a shaker window that all of these edges are touching each other with the foam adhesive if you're going to be using things that are really small like seed beads. Today, my shaker bits aren't quite as small, so they have less of a chance of leaking out if there's a tiny little gap, but I like to close this all in and make sure it's all clean. So at this point, we're now ready for the shaker bits here, or the shaker guts, as I like to call them. And I am using these little heart droplets from HAI here. These are adorable pink little hearts. And coincidentally, they coordinate beautifully with the fresh pink color from the stamp market. So if you're looking for a good match for those, it is definitely fresh pink from the stamp market. And I'm going to use some of this clear confetti from the stamp market as well. Now, I did take the time to make sure that my hearts were flipped with the top part facing the window so that they're not backwards inside of my shaker window. And you can see before I add my back piece onto my truck to hold in all of my shaker guts, I added a little bit of shading with a cool gray marker. Now I'm being very gentle as I lift off the backer from this foam adhesive so that my shaker bits don't jump out on me from the jolt. And then I'm going to take this and line it up and just press it down. And that creates my little shaker element for the front of my card. Now, what good is a truck on a card unless it moves? I mean, I couldn't just stop at the shaker card. I had to make it slide as well, which is why we're calling this the shaker slider card. So I am going to actually create a long skinny card, and this is going to measure 9 inches by 4¼ inches. So I'm just cutting a little bit off of the long end of this here. I'm lining it up at the 4¼ inch mark in my trimmer, and I'm using my Teflon bone folder to create my score line on this card. Now, there's no way I would try to fold something like this, especially this size, without scoring it first. So if you don't have a scoreboard, you can always use the edge of your trimmer to create your score line on your card front. Now I'm also going to take another piece of paper and cut a card front for this. So I have my card base and my card front. I cut it to about 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. And then I am going to create my slider track. Now there are dies that you can use to do this, but I wanted to show you that you can use your trimmer to create a straight track as well. We are using this trimmer today. We are getting good use, and I do suggest having a good trimmer. So I'm taking this, I'm starting, I don't know, about 3/4 inch in from the edge of the card, and I'm stopping a little bit shorter on that other side because I don't want my truck to look like it's running off the front of the card. And then I'm just going to take those 2 parallel lines and I'm going to connect them with my trimmer. Now, as I was saying, you have to have a good trimmer in your stash, girl. That is one of the keys to card making. You got to have a good trimmer. It's going to keep everything clean looking. There are so many things you can do with it. I showed you scoring. I showed you creating a shaker window. So if you do not have a good trimmer, I suggest that you get one that you love and get really familiar with it because it's going to take you a long way. Now I'm taking another strip of this foam adhesive here. This is actually a single layer here. And I am laying it in my track and I am attaching my truck to it. This is what's going to make it slide down that track. And eventually I'm going to take this and I'm going to put a penny on the back side so that it has a little weight so it will slide down that track easier. But before I put this together, I'm going to take my powder tool and I'm going to treat the side of that foam adhesive as well as the inner part of my track so that there's no friction, there's nothing sticky there, and that it can slide down this track easily. Now you can see my penny, I have it placed on the back of my card, and that's so that I know where I can place my foam adhesive without impeding the movement of that penny, because that penny needs to be able to move back and forth. So I'm just placing my foam adhesive, it's a single layer of foam adhesive all around this track, making sure there is room for that penny to go back and forth behind this area. Now I'm going to say on this next part, I totally should have done it before I added the foam adhesive to the back. But let's be real, I didn't think about it, and you are seeing me work how I actually work. I don't always think about things ahead of time, or I had thought about it, but I forgot to do it. So I'm just adding a little bit of ink blending. This is sea glass ink along the top, and then a little bit of black ink along the bottom to create like a road area. And I'm using the scrapbook.com ink blender here. It has like a little domed tip on the foam applicator, which makes it really nice because you don't get that solid like circle area that you sometimes can get. But it's a great blending tool. And once I had that ink blended, I am going to stamp my sentiment. This is from the special delivery stamp set. I'm stamping it first in the Stamp Market Fresh Pink ink. And then I am going to take a finger dauber. This is also from scrapbook.com. And I am adding a little bit of party pink to some of the outer areas of the sentiment. There's a couple of hearts and a couple of like little accent lines that I'm adding this party pink ink to. So I'll have kind of a dual tone sentiment here. And then I'm stamping that using my Misty. Because I'm using the Misty, I know it's going to stamp in the exact same place that I stamped it in that fresh pink ink. So I can add several layers of ink here and be sure that it's going to stamp in the same place every single time. Now you can see I exposed that little area of foam adhesive that's within my track, and I placed my penny. I actually went back and placed a second penny in there just to kind of give it a little more stability. And you can see once I put this all together, I have my truck moving down that track and the little shaker element on the back of the truck, which is so much fun. I added a couple of vellum clouds and I cut those out using the Hero Arts Infinity Clouds dies. And then I'm adding a little gold dashed line using my T-square ruler and a gold pen to just kind of create more of that road effect. And I felt like this was missing just a little something. So I went back in with the Scripty Heart die from the Stamp Market. I cut that from some fresh pink cardstock and I attached that behind my truck. And that heart moves with the truck, which I think is so much fun. And that completes my card today, featuring both a shaker element and a slider element. I think this is so much fun, and I can't wait for my husband to give this to me for Valentine's Day. Because you know he's going to be digging in my stash for that Valentine's Day card. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube, but head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. As always, thanks for joining me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of my paper crafting and card making video tutorials. Once again, thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.